So we're deep in the NBA offseason, right? There isn't a ton to talk about right now going on in the world of the NBA. We don't have an Olympics this summer to watch. So I wanted to start to predict the 2026 season. And I'm going to give you guys 5 bold predictions that I have for next year. Now, these aren't scorching hot takes. I'm not going to say that the Oklahoma City Thunder aren't going to make the playoffs. These ones could all happen, or all of these could not happen whatsoever. I think it's just going to be interesting to look back on these in a year from now, because I'm pretty confident in these 5 predictions in some way, shape, or form. And if you guys have any bold predictions that you would maybe die on, let me know in the comments below. They don't have to be scorching hot takes like I said. And yeah, if you do enjoy the video, I'd appreciate you dropping a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you're not already. So I don't think it's a crazy take or prediction to say that Paulo Beno will make an All-NBA team next year, but my prediction is Paulo Beno is going to make All-NBA first team. So last year's All-NBA first team consisted of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Nikola Jokic, as well as Jason Tatum, who's not going to be playing, or at least not going to be playing for most of next year's season. So there's a spot opening up right there. And also Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who could definitely make All-NBA first team again, but I just think he made it in combination with how good the Cavs regular season record is. And if the Cavs maybe just replicate what they did last year, it's not going to be the shock factor and the impressive factor given what their expectations were going into last year's season when they were projected around a 5 or a 6 seed and they ended up winning 64 games. So there is a chance there could be some new spots for All-NBA first team to take, and I'm a big fan of Paulo Beno going into year number 4. Last year, Paulo got off to a fantastic start with the Orlando Magic in a very small sample size. Then unfortunately, Paulo Beno suffered a serious injury and he was out the next few months. So his last game was on October 30th. He didn't come back till January 10th, and he struggled with his efficiency in some way in his first 12 games back. The Magic went 2-10. They had one of the worst offenses, we know that, for most of last year's season, but they were just decimated by injuries at times. And I was speculating that he was kind of injured too when he came back. Maybe he wasn't at full strength. It was reported that he was supposed to be out a little bit longer, and Powell finished off the season on a fantastic note. Following those 12 games and over the next 29 games to wrap up the season, the Orlando Magic went 16-13 and averaged 28 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 5 assists. He shot 47% from the field, 34% from 3 on 6 attempts a night, 78% from the free throw line on 9 attempts a night. He was one of the best players point blank in the second half of the NBA season last year. The decision making looked a lot better. The turnovers were weighed down as well. And Paulo Beno is still 22 years old. He's going to be around 23 when the season starts. And this is going to be a big year for somebody that's 6'10", 250 pounds. He was a #1 overall pick. I said at the beginning of this prediction, I don't think it's a crazy unpopular take to say that he's going to make an All-NBA team. Given with the 65 game rule, there's a clear path for Paulo to be an All-NBA third team or maybe an All-NBA second team guy. But I'm going to say that the Orlando Magic, with what they did this offseason, adding Desmond Bane, bringing in very well-respected coaches to help out the Jamal Mosley staff with guys like Joe Prunty, who's been around the NBA for 30 years, and God Shamgod, who's somebody that gets a ton of credit for what he can do with player development, can just kind of be external factors for Paulo Beno's development next season. Adding Desmond Bane is only going to help out Paulo Beno's assist numbers even more, and I just think with the Eastern Conference being as wide open as it is right now, with the injuries to Halliburton and Jason Tatum, you may have the Knicks and the Cavs up there, but there could be a path for the Orlando Magic to be a great regular season team if they could stay healthy, get a top 3 seed. Paulo's going to put up 25 plus points, 7 plus rebounds, and maybe over 5 assists a night. So that 3-point shot could be a little bit more consistent. And if he could play 65 games, yeah, I do think Paulo Beno could be on All-NBA first team in 2026. So I just made a bold prediction for somebody in the Eastern Conference to make an All-NBA team. I'm going to make one for somebody to make his first All-Star appearance. Brandon Miller is going to be an All-Star in 2026. Now, I'm really hoping that LaMelo and the rest of the Hornets can be more healthy in 2026, because it was a disaster in 2025. Leading up to last year's season, I was really talking myself into the Charlotte Hornets at least making the play-in, and they were one of the worst teams in the league last year. T.J. Salon was not ready. KJ Simpson and Nick Smith Jr. were inefficient, and everybody was basically hurt at one point. And Brandon Miller was so good in his rookie season in 2024 for still a dysfunctional Charlotte Hornets team. Completely different coach, GM, and ownership since when he got drafted in the offseason of 2023. Last year, in a 27-game sample size, Brandon Miller averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He averaged around 2 stocks a night, shot 40% from the field, 35.5% from 3 on 11 attempts a night, and 86% from the free throw line. Now, I don't blame you if you didn't watch much Charlotte Hornets basketball last year. It was tough at times, especially when Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball got hurt. But when they were healthy, Not a lot of guys on that team could create their own shot. It's really tough for somebody going into year number 2 as a 22-year-old to take 18 shots a night when he's not going to get much help around him. And I thought Brandon Miller took strides defensively after making some really encouraging plays in his rookie season on that end of the floor, looking engaged, active, and showcasing his athleticism. And like Paulo Beno, Brandon Miller did suffer some injuries last season. He basically got hurt in the first game of the year. The fact that Brandon Miller had this green light in year number 2 is crazy, and I don't think that's going to be sustainable or a recipe for success whatsoever. But now adding guys like Colin Sexton this offseason, Spencer Dinwiddie, solid creators and initiators in the backcourt, as well as drafting Con Knipple, who could be a pass-first guy at times, can do wonders for Brandon Miller's development, especially with getting LaMelo Ball healthy out there. Trey Mann's going to be healthy again as well. And you can play Brandon Miller all over the floor as well. Yeah, LaMelo Ball will have a lot of depth behind him in the backcourt because he could be maybe somebody with the highest upside here in Charlotte, and there's a reason why he was drafted ahead of Scoot Henderson and Amen Thompson on the night of the 2023 draft. And with guys like Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum going to be injured next year, there's going to be some openings in the Eastern Conference for players to make the All-Star game. It's a little bit tough too because if the Charlotte Hornets do get a representative, the odds that it's going to be a LaMelo Ball are pretty high, given that he's one of the more popular players to the younger generation right now in the NBA. So yeah, that's another bold prediction by me. Brandon Miller will make his first All-Star appearance in 2026. Now let's go to the Western Conference for my next prediction. Darren Fox is going to be a top 10 point guard. Now, I didn't think this was a bold prediction, but when I made my top 30 point guard rankings, a lot of you guys said that Darren Fox is not a top 10 point guard next year in the NBA, and I just disagree with you guys. Yes, you may say Darren Fox is overpaid, and that's completely fine. He's going to get max money from the San Antonio Spurs, and I wouldn't say he's a top 15 player in the NBA, but over Darren Fox's last 2 years in Sacramento, almost 150 games played, he averaged 26 points, 6 assists, 1.5 steals a night, 4.5 rebounds, shot almost 49% from the field, 35% from 3, and 76% from the free throw line. He's one of the quickest players in the NBA. He's a very solid defender. When you look at the list of the top 15 point guards in the NBA, there's not many other point guards that I would take defensively over Fox. Maybe it's Shea, but he plays in a very good system there in OKC. And I'm taking Darren Fox's defense over Steph, over Jalen Brunson, over Trae Young and Darius Garland and some others. So I do think you can get some positive effort from Darren Fox, who's now going to have Victor Wembanyama behind him for a full season. And last year, in his final year in Sacramento, there was so much commotion going on, given that Darren Fox was extension eligible this offseason. They fired Mike Brown, they fired Monte McNair, and then we know that he got traded to the San Antonio Spurs. So he basically had a cup of coffee there, just played 17 games in a completely new system, in a completely new environment, where he did struggle from 3, 27% from 3, struggled a little bit at the rim, but didn't get to play a lot with Wemby as well. He was the main attention of opposing teams' defense. They were letting guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Jeremy Shohan, and even rookie Stephon Castle try to beat them. So they were making sure anybody could try to beat them but Darren Fox. So I just think him playing with Wemby throughout a full season is going to make him look even better out there. I think we could see him average a career-high assist in 2026. He averaged 7.3 with the Kings in 2019. He averaged about 7 assists with the Spurs last year in 17 games. I think we could see him average 7.5 to 8 a night under Mitch Johnson. And last year, we only saw Darren Fox and Victor Wembanyama play 112 minutes together. And most of the three-man lineups with Darren Fox, Victor Wembanyama, and somebody like Johnson, Sohan, or Vassell had near a 120 offensive rating, which is very encouraging for what the Spurs offense could be next year. I believe there's a reason why Darren Fox got all that money. They really had no choice. We kind of thought they got Darren Fox for 50 cents on the dollar from Sacramento, where he had a year and a half left of team control. But yeah, now he just has 1 year left. So if the Spurs tried to trade him, they were not going to get nearly as much back as what they got given up for him, because they had no idea they were going to get Dylan Harper in the draft. So I just think the injury last year with Darren Fox, the finger injury, getting traded from Sacramento to San Antonio, and given what the unpredictability is from the point guards around him, can we trust LaMelo Ball to stay healthy? Darius Garland is going to be here to start off the year. How is Tyrese Maxey going to look after somewhat of a down year last year? I just think Darren Fox is a safe bet to be a top 10 point guard next year, and I'm very confident about that one. All right, so the first 3 bold predictions I gave you were player-based. The final 2 are going to be team-based. My next one is the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be a play-in team next year. Now, I think this is probably one of my safer predictions as well, and I almost made it where I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to make the playoffs, so this one is kind of hedging that a little bit, because the Bucks could be a play-in tournament team, and I am right, and they're not going to make the playoffs if they do end up losing in the play-in tournament. But teams that I'm confidently higher on next year than the Milwaukee Bucks are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, two teams that were better than Milwaukee and beat them all the time last year, and I think will be better in 2026. I do like Orlando a little bit more than Milwaukee in the regular season. And then I think there's a good chance that Detroit and Atlanta can be better than Milwaukee as well. Philadelphia is a major wild card in all this, same with Miami and Toronto, and who knows how Boston and Indiana are going to look like with their injuries. But with me liking Cleveland, New York, Orlando, Atlanta, and Detroit more, that's already putting Milwaukee at number 6, and I think we're going to see a team take a leap next year. Maybe it's a Philly, Miami, or Toronto. We always see it. Maybe the Pacers are just going to be flat out respectable, or the Boston Celtics, and I think that's going to make Milwaukee as a playing tournament team. I like Milwaukee's depth, right? They did what they could this offseason. Dame was going to miss all of the 2026 season, so they stretched and waived him. They picked up Miles Turner. That is going to be an addition and make them better, but I'm just scared if Giannis Antetokounmpo misses some time next year, this team is not going to have the shot creation or the offensive ability to stay afloat whatsoever. But there's a chance Giannis can miss 10 or so games, and who's going to step up offensively? They don't have Dame to soften the blow. Is Kyle Kuzma going to be any better next year? Are we going to see a major leap from a Kevin Porter Jr. or a Ryan Rollins or a Bobby Portis? And maybe those are all true, and Giannis is still the second or third best player in the NBA in my opinion. I'm just worried that if Giannis does go down, teams around them are just deeper in the Eastern Conference and could survive a little bit more. Like if Donovan Mitchell or Jalen Brunson, or even if Trae Young or Paulo Beno got hurt next year, I do trust the rest of the team to pick up some of the slack. And I think getting Cole Anthony, Miles Turner, and bringing back a lot of their guys on veteran minimums, great team building around Giannis this year. I just don't think this team is going to take a leap next year with no Damian Lillard, with Doc Rivers as their head coach. I just don't know what their offensive identity is going to be. I think there's a lot of variance in the 2026 Milwaukee Bucks, and I could be completely wrong. Giannis could carry this team to a 1 or a 2 seed, and Giannis wins his third MVP in 2026. He's definitely that good. He's 30 years old. He's still in his prime, and he probably still wants to prove to everybody that he's on the level with Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who've been in the MVP conversations a little bit more than Giannis over the last few years, which is kind of crazy too, because Giannis over the last 5 years, after winning MVP back-to-back in 2019 and 2020, 4th place MVP finish, then 3rd, 4th, and 3rd. He was 3rd in MVP last year, but I feel like people don't talk about Giannis enough. So yeah, I could be completely wrong about this one, but I just have a feeling that the Bucks are going to be a playing team in 2026. Now, I went back and forth for my last bold prediction. Is this team going to make the finals or win the finals? I'm going to say they're going to win the NBA Finals in 2026, around a year out from the NBA Finals taking place. I'm going to say that the Denver Nuggets are going to win the 2026 NBA Finals. So it's a lot tougher for a team like Denver, Houston, OKC to make it out of the Western Conference than a team like the Knicks or the Cavs to make it out of the Eastern Conference. But last year, Denver took OKC to game number 7. This is the same OKC team that we're probably going to see in 2026. Yes, they can make a trade or two at the deadline. That's not really how Sam Presti operates, given that the Gordon Hayward trade at the deadline a few years ago was a disaster. And the Thunder are going to be a fantastic team yet again. They're going to be projected to win the NBA Finals, and that is 100% correct. But the Denver Nuggets took OKC to game 7 with basically having like 6 rotational players, and Michael Porter Jr. was playing with a bad shoulder. You never knew what Russell Westbrook you were going to get on any given night. They couldn't trust Julian Strawther or Peyton Watson, and they basically had no backup big man outside of DeAndre Jordan, who's 100 years old. So they go out and add Jonas Valanciunas this offseason, and probably the best backup center the Nuggets have had in quite some time. They're going to get Deron Holmes, who was their first round pick in 2024, back healthy after tearing his Achilles in the Summer League that year, and he looked great in the Summer League this year. I love the addition of Cam Johnson, who I think is a smarter, more creative, and he can move better without the ball player with the Denver Nuggets around Nikola Jokic, and he's going to get a Jokic bump. We saw how good Cam Johnson was playing around Chris Paul in Phoenix. He's going to look even better, in my opinion, playing off of Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray in Denver. Christian Brown took a leap last year in year number 3, where he could have won Most Improved Player. I know they couldn't trust him a ton, but Julian Strawther did show some flashes in round number 2 against the Thunder. Peyton Watson really can't shoot much worse from 3 in 2026. And they also added Tim Hardaway Jr. from the Detroit Pistons, who's going to be just flat out a good 3-point shooter for them that is going to get so many good looks playing with Nikola Jokic. And oh yeah, how about them adding Bruce Brown as well, who we know works in Denver. He was a big part of their 2023 championship team. Aaron Gordon was playing on one hamstring in game 7 last year as well. Who knows, if Aaron Gordon was healthy, maybe that could have been a little bit of a boost for them in game number 7. And a lot of people were scared about Jamal Murray last year. He's making a lot of money. He had a very poor run with the Nuggets in the playoffs a year prior, and also struggled mightily for Team Canada in the 2024 Olympics. Well, Jamal Murray was great last year over the course of the season. He could still be a NBA championship type point guard that he was for them in 2023. They have a new head coach in David Adelman, who did a fine job just getting thrown into the fire last year after they fired Mike Malone, which was a shocker. And oh yeah, they have one of the greatest players of all time on their team, Nikola Jokic, at 30 years old, who could have won another MVP last year. He's won 3 out of the last 5 MVPs, and the 2 years he didn't win, he finished runner-up. He had the best year of his career last year, 29.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, 10 assists, assists. He averaged a 29-point triple-double and shot 57% from the field, 41% from three, and 80% from the free throw line. I think the Nuggets defense got better this offseason. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the Western Conference last year. They're still going to be one of the best offenses. Yes, teams in the West got better. You could say the Clippers got better, the Rockets got better, the Thunder could get better just by internal player development. So that's what makes this a bold prediction. I'm going to stamp right now in August of 2025 that the Denver Nuggets are going to win the 2026 NBA Finals. So that is going to be for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Those were 5 bold predictions that I have for next year's NBA season. Let me know if you agree with one of them, 2 of them, all 5 of them, or maybe none of them. Let me know down below. Maybe give me some bold predictions as well. Make sure you are subscribed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.